Poland held its largest military parade since the Cold War in its capital Warsaw yesterday. The parade marked the 103rd anniversary of Poland's victory over the Soviet Union in the Battle of Warsaw. Over 2,000 soldiers and over 200 pieces of military equipment marched down Warsaw's streets. The show of strength comes amid the presence of Wagner mercenaries close to Poland's border with Belarus. Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu arrived in Russia's capital, Moscow, yesterday. He attended the 11th Moscow Conference on International Security. He also pledged more support and cooperation with Russia. After the conference, the Chinese Defense Minister met his counterparts from Iran, Vietnam, and Kazakhstan, who were also in Moscow. Russia's defense ministry officially released footage showing its Navy personnel boarding a cargo ship in the Black Sea. The video also showed Russian soldiers detaining and questioning the captain and the crew of the ship. On Sunday, a Russian ship had fired at the cargo ship after it failed to respond to a demand to halt. After the firing incident, Russian soldiers stormed the ship. Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke to Mali's leader about the recent coup in neighboring Niger. Putin called for a peaceful and diplomatic outreach to bring stability in the West African nation. Putin also pledged more support for Mali and Niger. Life has become increasingly expensive in Niger. This is because of sanctions imposed by the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. Now, people in Niger are turning to selling handmade goods to make a living. People are making chairs, furniture, doors, and even selling grilled meat to make ends meet. United Nations officials say the war in Sudan is spiraling out of control. They added that the African nation was running out of medical supplies and food. UN reports say war-related sexual assaults have increased by 50%. In addition, millions of civilians are facing rampant looting, power cuts, and irregular water supply in Sudan. Kenya reinstated some fuel subsidies yesterday. This is just 30 days after the subsidies had been removed. The U-turn comes after days of violent protests against the government. The subsidies have been brought back in hopes of stabilizing rising fuel prices. Clashes erupted in Libya's capital Tripoli yesterday. At least 27 people were killed and more than 100 were wounded in the violence. Tensions rose after the detention of an army commander by what's called the Special Deterrence Force, which controls Tripoli's airport. However, the army commander was later released. Hours after that, fighting erupted between the army and the Special Deterrence Force. Egypt hosted the foreign ministers of Arab nations in its capital, Cairo, yesterday. They discussed the way forward to provide international support to Syria. New forms of investing in Syria were also discussed by the leaders. In May, the Arab League reinstated Syria after a suspension of 12 years. North Korean officials say that a U.S. soldier, Private Travis King, wants to take refuge in their country. According to the officials, King said he faced ill treatment and racial abuse within the U.S. Army. Pyongyang's spokesperson said that King has accepted to deliberately crossing the border. In May, Private King dashed into North Korea after crossing the border illegally. He has been in North Korean custody since then. A former agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation has pleaded guilty to conspiracy. Former FBI official Charles McGonigal has admitted to working with Russian oligarchs who were under sanctions by the U.S. According to U.S. officials, McGonigal received $17,000 to launder money for Russian businessmen. The charges carry a prison term of up to 5 years for the federal agent. A U.S. judge is scheduled to sentence McGonigal in December. Santiago Peña was sworn in as Paraguay's president yesterday. Peña took oath outside the government palace in the capital, Asunción. The ceremony was attended by several South American leaders. Taiwan's Vice President William Lai also attended the ceremony. After the swearing-in, Peña said he would take ties between his country and Taiwan to newer heights. Porters and baggage workers went on strike in at least 6 Argentinian airports yesterday. The striking union was protesting over the privatization of some services in airports. In Argentina, baggage handling is normally done by state-owned enterprises. Now, private companies have been given the license to handle airport baggage. The strikes affected more than 10,000 passengers. Moving to climate news, the death toll from the devastating wildfires in the U.S. state of Hawaii have crossed 100. More than 2,000 structures have been destroyed by the blaze. Roughly 86% of them were residential buildings. The wildfire is the deadliest that the U.S. has seen in more than a century. Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden has said that he plans to travel to Hawaii as soon as he can. He said he will review the recovery efforts. Biden has been facing criticism for his lack of response to the island's deadly fires. Hawaii residents have complained about the slow pace of the federal government's action to the disaster. Ice factories in Iraq's capital Baghdad are seeing soaring orders. This comes as a heat wave continues to scorch the country. In areas with no electricity, local people are using ice cubes to preserve food. Iraq has faced extreme electricity shortages for years. Australia broke several temperature records in the month of July. Across the country, maximum temperatures were overall about 1.2 degrees Celsius above average. Cities like Sydney, Melbourne and Hobart recorded their highest July temperatures on record. Amidst the extreme temperatures, scientists have warned that the climate crisis is accelerating. Heavy rain led to swollen rivers crashing through western Japan. This follows the landfall of Typhoon Lan. Footage shows gushing waters from a swollen river. This caused roads by the riverbank to cave in. Rescuers have been searching for more survivors after landslides hit the Indian city of Shimla. At least 57 people have been killed in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Torrential rains have caused hillsides to collapse. It has buried homes and dragged down buildings. Unusual winter storms in France have destroyed harvests in the country. Weeks-long rainy and stormy weather in early August have hurt grain production in France. Farmers around the world are battling extreme weather. The United Nations has warned that extreme climate events are becoming more frequent due to global warming. Now to business and tech news. An analyst from the ratings agency Fitch has warned that it may be forced to further downgrade American banks. The downgrade could include banks like JP Morgan Chase. This comes after Fitch cut its assessment of the U.S. banking industry's health in June. It had lowered the score, citing pressure on the country's credit rating, gaps in regulatory framework, and uncertainty about interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. China's residential property market could see a sharper than expected slump this year. This is according to financial firm JP Morgan. Analysts at the firm now expect China's residential sales value to contract 10% this year. An earlier estimate had predicted a 4% drop. Many residents in the United Kingdom are struggling against the cost of living crisis. This has led to a rise in the number of homeless people in the country. Data shows that the number of households living in temporary accommodation reached a new high of 105,000. This is for the first quarter of this year. Canada's corporate ethics watchdog has said that it's investigating fashion giant Ralph Lauren's Canadian unit. This is over the retailer's supply chain and operations in China. The company allegedly used or benefited from the use of forced labor from the Uyghur community. In July, Canada launched a similar investigation into the shoemaker Nike. Cryptocurrency exchange Binance has filed for a protective court order against the US markets regulator. Binance says that the Securities and Exchange Commission's demands are unduly burdensome. The protective order seeks to limit the watchdog to 4 depositions from the firm's US employees. It has also asked to drop depositions from the unit's CEO and CFO. Electric vehicle maker VinFast's shares soared on Monday. This was after its debut in the Nasdaq stock exchange. VinFast made its Nasdaq debut through a $23 billion backdoor listing with Black Spade Acquisitions. A backdoor listing is a method for converting a private company into a publicly traded company. This is done by merging the unlisted company with an already listed company. US-based Southwest Airlines says it has reached a tentative agreement with a workers' union. The union represents more than 17,000 transport workers of the company. Under the new deal, the workers will earn nearly $37 per hour. This is higher than the hourly wages at competitors like United Airlines and Delta Airlines. The contract also meets the union's other demands, such as improvement in retirement medical coverage. Kenyan lawmakers will investigate the use of TikTok in the country. This comes after it received a petition from a citizen. The petition demanded that the social media company be banned for allegedly being inappropriate. The petitioner complained that the app's addictive nature would lead to a rise in depression and anxiety among the youth. According to reports, social media company X, formerly known as Twitter, delayed access to certain links. These links were for content on news media websites like Reuters and the New York Times. Clicking on the link resulted in a delay of about 5 seconds before the web pages loaded. The delay was also seen for links that directed to competitor websites like Facebook and Instagram. Google plans to train 20,000 Nigerian women and youth in digital skills. It will also provide a grant of $1.6 million to help the government create 1 million digital jobs in Nigeria. The program will be facilitated by Google's philanthropic arm in partnership with local Nigerian organizations. Moving to sports. In cricket, England's Ben Stokes may reverse his ODI retirement decision. Stokes has reportedly said he's seriously thinking about it. This is according to reports by the British media. Stokes had retired from the one-day format last year. He wanted to focus on captaining the Test team for England. In football, US club Inter Miami reached the league's cup final. Inter Miami, led by Lionel Messi, defeated Philadelphia Union 4-1. The goals came from Messi, Joseph Martinez, Jordi Alba and David Ruiz. Miami will face either CF Monterrey or Nashville SC in the finals. Kevin De Bruyne, the captain of the English Premier League club Manchester City, will be sidelined due to injury. The Belgian midfielder has an injured hamstring. This was sustained during the opening game of the Premier League season. The 32-year-old will be off the field for at least 4 months. English Premier League club Chelsea have reached an agreement with Southampton for midfielder Romeo Lavia. The deal is worth over $70 million. Lavia has been given permission to undergo a medical at Chelsea. Brazilian forward Neymar has become the latest player to join the Saudi Pro League. He has left Paris Saint-Germain and signed for Al-Hilal. The deal is reportedly worth around $175 million. PSG has reportedly agreed to transfer transfer fee of $98 million. In tennis, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz reached the last 16 of the Cincinnati Open. Spain's Alcaraz defeated Australia's Jordan Thompson 7-5, 4-6, 6-3. The match went on for 3 hours. Meanwhile, defending champion Borna Coric won the first round of the Cincinnati Open as well. Coric defeated his American opponent Sebastian Korda 7-6, 6-4 in straight sets. He'll next play Poland's Hubert Hurkacz in the next round. Gael Monfils of France won the first round of the Cincinnati Open as well. Monfils defeated the 13th seed Cameron Norrie. He lost the first set 6-3 against Norrie, but rallied back 6-4, 6-3 in the next 2 sets. Tunisian tennis player Ons Jabeur won the second round of the Cincinnati Open. She beat Anhelina Kalilina of Ukraine 6-3, 6-7, 7-6. The world number 5 Jabeur's next opponent is world number 1 Iga Świątek. Australia is planning to launch a Pacific Rugby Championship. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his country will allocate $4.5 million for the event. The Pacific Championships will feature teams from Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Tonga, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, and the Cook Islands. In the world of entertainment, the Writers Guild of America is mulling over a counter-proposal by some major Hollywood studios. The offer by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers addresses some of the major sticking points. This includes the use of artificial intelligence to supplant writers, the disclosure of streaming viewership data, and the preservation of writers' rooms on television series. Actor Angelina Jolie has hired her youngest daughter, Vivian Jolie-Pitt, as her assistant on the upcoming Broadway production of The Outsiders. Vivian Jolie-Pitt is just 15 years old. Jolie says that her daughter reminds her of her mother, and she isn't focused on being the center of attention, but in being a support to other creatives. American actor Katie Stevens recently reflected on her experience with postpartum depression. She said, and I quote, "For me, anxiety got way worse. I was just overwhelmed all the time, and I personally have a severe allergy to asking for help." Stevens opened up about her postpartum journey 6 months after she welcomed her child with husband Paul DiGiovanni. Katie Stevens is famous for playing the role of Jane Sloan in the drama series The Bold Type. Actor Busy Phillips has shared her struggles with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. She said that before she was diagnosed, her symptoms manifested in a variety of ways that impacted her daily life. The actor revealed that her ADHD manifested as depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem for years before she was properly diagnosed. She added that medication for ADHD is the only thing that has helped. Actor Matthew McConaughey and his family have stepped up to contribute to the relief efforts for survivors of the Hawaii wildfires. The actor announced that his family would be sponsoring a flight of emergency supplies. McConaughey said that the flight will be filled with hundreds of thousands of emergency supplies for children and families that have been affected. Singer Nick Jonas has spoken out about the latest trend of fans throwing things at artists during their performances. The Jonas Brothers band member has said it needs to stop. This comes after he became the latest celebrity to have objects hurled at him during his concert. Earlier celebrities including Bibi Rexha and Drake have had objects thrown at them in the middle of their performances. K-pop band BTS's RM has assured fans that the group will return in 2025. All members will be back after completing their mandatory military service in South Korea. RM revealed that his bandmate Suga also talked about the love they received from their fan base, which is called the Army. The 28-year-old thanked fans for their constant love and support. Singer Madonna has rescheduled her celebration tour dates. She has postponed the tour following a health scare. The Queen of Pop was recently hospitalized due to a bacterial infection. However, Madonna will still perform across the globe, including London, Belgium, Denmark, Sweden, and Spain. Back to the Future star Christopher Lloyd shared a reunion photo with his co-stars Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson, and Thomas F. Wilson. Back to the Future first premiered in 1985. It became a massively successful trilogy, which included Back to the Future 2 in 1989 and Back to the Future Part 3 in 1990. British actor Darren Kent has died at the age of 36. Kent is famous for his appearance in Game of Thrones and Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. The actor was battling osteoporosis, arthritis, and a rare skin disorder. Kent also appeared in movies including Mirrors, Snow White and the Huntsman, My Feral Heart, and Love Without Walls.